Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be, are men intimidated by successful women? Well, some men are definitely intimidated by successful women. And if you've been following what I teach for a while, you realize that everything I teach is really geared towards helping you become the man, if you're a guy, that you need to be, or the woman that you need to be, in order to attract the kind of person you really want. And I'm talking about the kind of person that you think is out of your league. Somebody that knocks your socks off, not just an average somebody or a warm body that you could sleep next to every night. So I actually have an email here from a woman who recently broke up with her boyfriend, and she really brings up some interesting things that she's encountered with the guy that she's with. She's a lot more successful than him. She makes more money, and you can just tell in the behavior of how this guy is living his life that he feels inferior. He doesn't feel good enough to be in a relationship at all. He doesn't feel very successful as a man. And for us guys, because masculine energy is all about purpose, drive, mission, succeeding, accomplishing, break through barriers, being direct, being decisive. For a guy who in essence is kind of adrift in his life, in other words, he doesn't have a strong sense of purpose and mission, he doesn't have a career, he doesn't have a business, that he's something that he's really passionate about, that he's pursuing. And when a guy because I deal with this a lot, I have a lot of guys that come to me and they're having problems in their relationship, and once we really get into it, the real root cause of their relationship is they hate what they do for a living. They hate their job, they hate their career, or they can't stand their business partners, or they're just doing something that they really don't enjoy because they've never really gone after the things that are exciting or emotionally compelling to them because of fear. I deal with it all the time with clients that I do life coaching with, is that they have things, guys that are really successful and make a lot of money, but yet they're really not doing what they want to do because deep down they were always afraid that if they went after what they really wanted, they wouldn't succeed. So they went and they did something that was kind of okay, they make good money at it, but it just doesn't jazz them. And for a lot of guys, initially, like when I was younger, I used to think if I just get the ultimate woman, then that will kind of be everything I need to complete my life. And when that happens, when you have that belief and then you get into that relationship, the bottom line is eventually once the honeymoon period wears off, you're faced with the fact that you're just an unhappy person. You're not liking your life. Because most of the time that we're going to spend throughout our week is going to be at our job, our career, or our business. And if you're spending the majority of your week not doing something that you really enjoy or that you're passionate about, it's going to affect your relationship. And if you're one of those guys that gets into a relationship thinking that that person's going to make you happy, they will make you happy for a while. But once the honeymoon period is over, the infatuation has worn off, you're faced with the fact that you're an unhappy dude. And when you realize that, then it becomes hard to even make the effort in your relationship to keep your relationship going well, to keep the courtship going well. Because when the guy realizes that his woman is really not the source of his happiness, that he can't look to her as the reason why he's happy, that can be very depressing and very demotivating and demoralizing. And then it causes him to start to withdraw because what's going on is deep down he just doesn't feel successful as a man. Because as a man, if you don't feel like you're embodying some kind of mission or purpose in life that you're passionate about, that you're excited about, that you at least enjoy, you're just not going to be a happy person. It's hard to motivate yourself to go to the gym and take care of yourself when you're broke as a joke, or you hate your boss, or you hate your job, or you got this business and it's totally out of whack and out of balance, and therefore it's not making much money. You don't feel successful. And masculine energy is the embodiment of success. That's why women like guys that have goals and that have ambition. And if that piece is missing from your life, if you're a guy, it's going to affect every area of your life in a negative way. And so that's why I spend so much time helping guys with their careers, their purpose, their businesses, their mission in life, is to get something, because that, as a man, that's the embodiment of what masculine energy is all about. And if that's lacking, the guy's really going to struggle in his life. So I've got a quote that I wrote, and I want to go through that with you really quick before we get into this woman's email. And the quote says, masculine energy is all about purpose, drive, mission, succeeding, accomplishing, breaking through barriers, achieving goals, being direct and decisive, etc. Successful and wealthy women tend to intimidate men who feel inferior, unsuccessful, or men who do not have a real clear sense of their ideal purpose and mission in life. If a man does not have a career, business, or purpose in life that is emotionally compelling and exciting to him, he will not feel like he is very successful as a man. He will be more in a survival mode than in a mode of success and abundance. He will have a poverty and scarcity mindset that leads him to believe that he is not enough to make his woman or a woman happy. Therefore, when things get hard in relationships, he will tend to withdraw and leave the relationship because he does not feel successful, or avoid relationships altogether. If a man is happy, fulfilled, passionate, and content with what he does for a living, he will feel a strong sense of purpose, inner strength, satisfaction, and confidence. He will feel that he has plenty to offer and give to a relationship without holding back. You can't give away what you don't have for yourself. In other words, if deep down in a guy's core, if he doesn't feel like he's kicking ass and taking names and really fulfilling what he was put on this earth to do, he's going to have a hard time summoning what he needs to summon from deep within him to take action in his relationships, in his dating life, in his business life, taking care of his body, eating healthy. He's just not going to feel the motivation, because deep down inside, if you don't feel like you're living your purpose, you're going to, in essence, feel like a ship without a rudder. You're going to feel like a man is just an insignificant person. In other words, like, what's the point? And when you feel that way, you're not going to focus or take the action that you know you need to take deep down, because it becomes something that is really a bothersome worry for you. And if you're working a job 9 to 5 just to pay the bills and you absolutely hate it, really what you're focused on Monday through Friday is just trying to get to the weekend so you can kind of breathe and have some time to yourself. But people that are in that state, that are in that mindset, they don't feel like they have enough. In other words, they're already in a scarcity poverty mindset, often because they're broke and they don't have a lot of money. And therefore, if they feel like they don't have enough all of the time, they don't have enough money, they don't have enough time, they don't have enough health, they don't have enough good looks, they don't have enough of whatever it is they feel they're lacking to give or contribute to a relationship. So let's go ahead and jump into her email. She says, "Hey coach, my live-in boyfriend recently broke up with me. I had noticed lately that he was very argumentative and always bringing up the fact that he had too much baggage and wished that he could provide better as a man. And she says he had debt from his past relationship and I made double what he made. And this was a weekly argument because he felt he didn't provide enough. And we had been arguing a lot lately, a lot of drama, getting in each other's face, etc. Well, it's definitely dysfunctional and it's not healthy. And just the fact, what this tells me is the fact that your boyfriend didn't feel successful. In other words, he didn't feel like a man. And since he didn't feel like a man, he started taking it out on you. Why? Because he was envious of your success. Because here he is, a man. Masculine energy is all about being successful. That is the embodiment of what masculine energy is about. And men and women, we both have masculine and feminine energy. And so he's looking at you, in essence, feeling like, well, fuck, my girlfriend is way more successful than I am. And so that's internally that's going to cause him to feel diminished. It's going to make him feel inferior and insignificant. Because A, it's obvious that he doesn't know what to do about it. And so therefore what he's doing is he's trying to belittle you and knock you down by tearing you down verbally. And therefore, since he tears you down verbally to his level or below his level in his eyes, he doesn't feel so bad about the fact that he in essence is a failure as a man. Remember, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've said numerous times, I even say in my book, No one will ever do or say anything that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. So she continues on. She says, then on Friday, while he was at work, things were fine, no arguing. He broke things off through text and told me he wasn't the right guy for me and that he felt things were forced and that we had been drifting apart. He wished me luck and hoped I could find someone and not to be upset and that this was for the best. In other words, plus when you're arguing all the time, you're unhappy. He could see it in your face. And as men, if our woman who we're in a relationship with or who we're dating is unhappy, we feel responsible for that. In other words, if you're our girl and you're miserable and you're unhappy and we're arguing all the time, we feel like a failure. He already feels like a failure in his purpose and his mission in life. And then on top of that, he feels like a failure at making his girlfriend happy. And so, therefore, he feels like he's not enough. He feels like he can't do anything about it. And so, therefore, he withdraws from the relationship because he realized if you guys are arguing all the time, not only he can't make himself happy, and then on top of that, he can't make you happy. So therefore, being in a relationship with you makes him feel more of a failure as a man. In other words, he feels like he's lacking something, and therefore, he doesn't have what he feels like he needs in order to contribute in a way that would make him feel like a man in the relationship. So therefore, he's not successful at making himself happy, and he's not successful at making you happy. So therefore, by getting out of the relationship, at least he's no longer going to feel like a failure in his relationship. And that's why, after a while, men just kind of give up. Because it's obvious you're the one that's here learning about self-help and trying to learn relationship skills and dating skills to better yourself. Well, he should be the one that's here doing that as well, but it's obvious he's not doing that because he's in a scarcity and poverty mindset, so he's literally withdrawing from life and your relationship. She continues on. He said he never felt like home. And I said to him, okay, I didn't fight back and I didn't try to argue and I just accepted the breakup. He offered to be friends and I simply said I cannot be friends with someone I love. Well, good for you for having the inner strength to stand up for yourself and what you want and what you believe in. Because you'd just be torturing yourself. And you would also, if you were to go along with a friendship when it's not what you really want, you just would be enabling his behavior, his weak behavior. When I got home from work, he was gone and everything else was gone. I looked and noticed that he had left some stuff and didn't leave the money or the keys. I texted him the next day asking if he wanted to get it, and he did it while I wasn't at home. No face-to-face. Well, he's like kind of crawling away like the cockroaches in the middle of the night. He's trying to avoid a confrontation. Because deep down what's really going on is he knows he's being a weak bitch. That's the bottom line. And therefore, he feels like he's already enough of a failure in his own life, and therefore he doesn't want to feel like a failure with you. Therefore, he avoids the issue altogether by breaking up with you over text and then packing all his shit and leaving when you're not at home. She says, I got home and I noticed he had left some 50-pound weights that he said he couldn't take in his car because it was too heavy, and he told me that he would get his parents' van to pick them up later. And she puts that obviously he never actually brought the van back to do that. Next day, and it could be because he really doesn't care about the weights, or he's potentially leaving those things there to give him a reason to call you later on if he reconsiders. Men and women both do that. The next day I texted him telling him that the breakup was cowardly done through text and that I would have appreciated a face-to-face because after all, we're adults. He kept answering back with arguments telling me what I did wrong because he doesn't want to take any responsibility for the failure of the relationship because he wants to blame it all on you, and therefore it's not his fuck up, it's not his fault. Telling me what I did wrong in the relationship, pointing fingers, and I replied, again, this should be talked about in person, not through text. I would appreciate it if you stopped pointing fingers at me. He kept doing it, so I ended our conversation by saying, if closure is something you do not want to give me, please just let me know. And then she got no reply. So obviously he doesn't want to give you closure. Why? Remember, no one will ever do or say anything that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. So deep down, what's really going on, he knows it's his fuck up. He knows it's his failure, but he already feels like enough of a failure as a man, so he'd rather not take responsibility for the fact that the relationship failed, even though that in essence, from what he said, he couldn't be enough of a provider. In other words, he's not making enough money. He's intimidated by the fact that you're a lot more successful than him. So this is a way he goes about disassociating from the responsibility for breaking up with you. So a week passes, and then he texts me, "Are you working tonight?" Which I replied, "No, I'm not. May I ask the reason for the question?" And then she puts no reply. So he just ignored that. I think we both had reasons to stay like we had reasons to leave, but I believed we could make things work. Well, the problem is the reality, because I always talk about seeing things as they are, not better than they are or worse than they are. And then in this way, you thinking you could work things out, he needs time on his own to find himself, to figure out his purpose, to figure out his mission, to get his shit together. He's just, the place that he's at, he doesn't feel like he's got what it takes to be a man in order to make himself happy or make you happy. In other words, he's bitching out on you. She says his weights are still here, no keys, no money, and I'm trying not to be a nagging bitch or trying to contact him first. Should I pursue or wait? I wouldn't do anything. If you're really tired of the weights being there and in like after a few weeks you haven't heard from, change the locks. Change the locks in the house. And send him a text and saying, "Hey, if you don't pick these, I'm going to give you till Friday or this weekend to pick the weights up. And if you don't pick them up or make arrangements to get them picked up, I'm going to assume that you don't want them, and I'm going to give them away to somebody else who may want them." If it, because you want to be able to move on with your life, because the guy's got a key to your place and he still owes you money for his part of the rent or whatever, because he's just bitched out on it, and more than likely you're probably not going to hear from him. He may just not want the weights altogether. And like I said, I would send him that text, giving him a week to take care of it. And then if he doesn't show up, you're going to assume that he doesn't want them. And then you're going to make arrangements to get rid of him. And then you can go ahead and change the locks on your own. And if he still hasn't given you the money, it's obvious he's not going to give you the money because he's fucking broke as a joke. She says, "I feel that the arguing was a huge deal for both of us. I don't blame him, and I don't blame myself either. I think we both did our fair share of hurting each other and disrespecting one another." That's a good, honest assessment. At least you're taking responsibility, whereas on his part, he's pointing the finger and saying it's all your fault. She says, "I miss him, I love him, and I wish I could have my best friend back. I'm not sure what to do or what he could be thinking. I would have been supportive of that if he felt he needed to move out to save money living with his parents. But what I don't support is the decision he made without consulting or talking to me face to face." Well, there's really not a whole heck of a lot that you can do about it in this particular case. But like I said, text him in a week or so if you still haven't heard from him, and just say, "Hey, I got your weights here. If I'm going to give you a week to come pick them up, arrange to get them picked up, and if I don't hear from you, I'm just going to assume that you don't want them. They're not that important. And then I'm going to throw them away, and then I'm going to get the locks changed. But I would really appreciate it if you bring the key by so I could have the key back, and you give me the money that you owe me." And that will tell you everything. If he'll either come and pick up the weights and he'll drop the key off, or he won't. And if he doesn't do that, you can get rid of the weights, you can change the locks, and realize that he's just a weak ass bitch, and he's not going to pay you back the money that he owes you. But when I look at this situation as a whole, the fact that you make more money and you're more successful than he is, this guy is really not in a situation where he can be in a relationship with you, and therefore you should just let him go, because you're better off without him. Your goals and your values are simply not aligned. And what you really deserve is a guy who is at a similar level of success in his life that you are in yours. You want somebody that you can share your completeness with. Somebody that has a complete life. They're happy, they got their own place, they got their own car, they got a good job, a good career, a good business that they really love and they have a passion for. that's the kind of person that you can have a healthy relationship with. But this particular guy, he's got some growing up to do. He's got to find himself first. So he's really not a candidate other than maybe keeping him around as a sex playmate. And so once he's picked his shit up, if he ever contacts you after that and you'd like to try to rekindle things, you got to understand that this guy's really not capable of having a relationship with you just because of where he's at in his life as far as his mission and his purpose goes. But by all means, do exactly what I always teach guys to do. If after he picks up all his shit and he brings you the keys, hopefully he pays you the money that he owes you. If he gets in contact with you a few weeks after that, invite him over. Just, if he texts you, hey, how are you? What are you up to? Hey, great to hear from you. I'd love to see you when you're free to get together. And then make a date. Tell them to grab a bottle of wine and come on over to your place and you guys can make dinner together. Hang out, have fun, and hook up with him. While you're looking to meet a guy who actually has his shit together. But quite frankly, you're going to be better served just to kind of cut all ties with this guy and move on with your life, because bottom line is it's obvious from your email that you want a guy that you can have a relationship with. But he's not a guy that's at a place in his life where he can be what you want. And he admitted as much to you in his text. So let him go, because now it's creating a space for you in your life where you can actually attract somebody into your life who does have their shit together, who has their career and their mission, their purpose, their business. They have that piece of their life figured out, which is a critical component to a guy's life. Because if a guy doesn't have that part of his life together, he's going to struggle in every area of his life, and you'd be best served to not get involved with dudes like that. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching with me personally, and you can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.